Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m. with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another segment of Emerge and Empower with your host, Dr. Lynn J. Now, you know my journey is all about healing, and the healing is to heal for real. We have too many people that are hurting, that are not confronting or dealing with their past traumas, those who have disassociated themselves totally away from their past trauma. But each of these episodes is not only to empower you, but to encourage you on this journey to healing so that you can truly live and stop existing. All right. Emerge and Empower is a platform where individuals have gone through traumatic experience and they come on here and share that journey with you. Many of them have turned their pain into purpose. And on today is like all other episodes, the person is here to share their past experience. So what you need to do is go ahead and get on the front row of your seats because we're going to be on here for this hour. Call your friend, call your girlfriend, share it. Share it in your group, share it on Facebook, WhatsApp, share it on your LinkedIn, YouTube, share. And what you need to do is subscribe to Emerge and Empower with Dr. Lynn J. Now, it is on Apple and all the other audio platforms for a podcast, all right? Do you have a story to tell? I encourage you to come onto this platform and share your story as well. So we are going to welcome our guest on today. And as you can see, it's a beautiful young woman that has come on to share her story. So I'm going to get right into her details before we get any further so you can understand who Julie is on today. All right. She married her childhood sweetheart, first kiss, etc. Her first, and they ended up getting married. Her second child, Taytem, was born with a rare genetic condition called premortal dwarfism, but they didn't know what was wrong with her because there were no genetic marker, and it was 24 years ago, which was pre-Google and pre-everything we know, ChatGPT. So not many people even knew the type of dwarfism existed, including 5 hospitals that they sought out for help. She was a victim of medical malpractice at birth and damaged her throat. Therefore, it took 40 plus surgeries to remove a trach, and she subsequently lost use of her vocal cords. She can't speak. She's now 24 and 24 pounds and self-taught artist. So after the changes began to get better with her, they had 2 more children, which is a total of 4. And when their youngest was just 6 months, he was diagnosed with a stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He was given 2 weeks to live, although he ended up surviving 16 months. Most of them were pretty terrible. He died in 2009, and from there, she remarried and was in an emotionally and physically abusive relationship for a decade. During that marriage, Tite, her daughter with special needs, was diagnosed with a rare connective tissue cancer and had to have her right side torso removed and her legs grafted to, to fill in the scar. The cancer was completely unrelated to the premortal dwarfism, and with only 130 cases in US, which is 99% of our senior citizens. Because her second husband and her shared two small children, he sued her for custody, saying that she was on drugs, mentally ill, you name it. Although he never spent a day with them, not even an exaggeration, and had emptied her savings and never contributed, had a drug addiction. It took her 2 years, but the truth finally came out, and now she has sole custody, and he does not have visitation for their safety. Now, there's so much more to this. I'm not going to get into this. We're just going to go right here and just bring her on. One, let us welcome Julie to the set. Julie, welcome to Emerge and Empower with me, your host, Dr. Linda. Go ahead and let everyone know, just share who you are. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Linda. Thank you. Yeah. As you were reading the intro, I was like, and then.
It was like, I got to keep going, but I said, hold on. Let me just let her come on here and tell. So, welcome to Emerge and Empower, Julie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Introduce yourself to our audience on today.
Sure. I am the mother of six. My last name is Barth, Julie Barth. I'm an author and I'm the founder of the Colin James Barth Outreach, which is a charity founded to help women-led households in times of crisis.
Wow, wow. I guess that would be your why. We'll get into your why later on because as I was reading her synopsis, it was like this chapter and the next chapter. I was like, you know what? Let me just take a pause right there and we're just going to have you come right on in and you're going to just carry us through your story, which is your life experience. And I want to commend you for being a strong woman who is still standing today and have turned your pain into purpose. And this is one of the reasons why you're on the set today, so you can take us through your journey. So, Julie, at this time, I am turning the mic over to you and just take us through your experience.
Okay. So as you said, I've been through several different challenges in my life where sometimes I'm telling other people my story and I think, wow, I forgot that happened. So I have a special needs daughter. Luckily that she made it through 40 plus surgeries at the start and then had
Wow.
another probably 7 or 8 when she got cancer. So she still is an enigma. There's really no reason why she's still alive
Wow.
besides the ultimate reason, which is the why of the
Yes.
charity and what she does. But yeah, she was born with a rare genetic disease called primordial dwarfism, which is a type of dwarfism where she's proportionate. It's just that she's very, very small. So right
Hmm.
from the time I got pregnant with her, she just stopped growing.
Wow.
So as you said, it was before Google. So, we traveled to different hospitals and no one seemed to know what was wrong. And what we were
Hmm.
really dealing with at the
Right.
time was the medical malpractice more than the genetic condition itself.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, we were told she would never walk, she would never talk, and she kept making each one of her milestones.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, yeah. So today she's, like you said, 24 pounds. She's a
Wow.
self-taught artist. She doesn't have a voice, but she pushes air. Socially, she's, completely a 24-year-old. Her disabilities kind of limit her from her being able to interact with the world.
Hmm.
So when I saw she started drawing on her own,
Hmm.
um, and I saw it one day and it just, took my breath away. And we sat down and we had that conversation. and decided that the reason why she does it is because she wants to show the world
Sure.
her art and be a part of it. So we built a website for her, and
Hmm.
she's been doing her art and selling it, and all the proceeds from her art go to fund the charity which we formed. um, in the
Wow.
midst
We
of all
will
of it,
share
as
that
she
link. We will share that
yes.
link in the bio so everyone will be able to connect there. And I mean, that story in itself. So take us through when you realized that something was wrong.
Well, I had had a couple miscarriages before her, and
Okay.
it's still we're still not sure because there's no genetic marker for this
Mm-hmm,
type of condition
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
still in 2025. So we're not really sure how it's inherited. But we did have two miscarriages before her. So we kind of felt when I was pregnant with her, like right out the gate, I was very cautious, but I started bleeding and I thought, oh, here we go again. We're going to lose her.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would go in at 6 weeks and they'd say, oh, congratulations, you're 6 weeks pregnant. And then 10 weeks, congratulations, you're 6 weeks. By 12 weeks, I was like, something is not right here.
Right, right, right.
But we would go in and they would do, right. I mean, I probably had 40 plus ultrasounds as well. And
Mm-hmm.
there was never anything that they could show me was wrong. She was
Right,
perfect. She was proportionate. There were no, there's always sort of genetic markers. Those weren't there. I
right.
had an amniocentesis and it came back normal. So we just kind of crossed our fingers and hoped for the best.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But when she was they delivered her about, I think, 38 weeks is when they did it. And
Mm-hmm.
they were expecting her to be about 5 or 6 pounds, and she was only 3.
Wow.
So they weren't equipped to handle her, and they used the wrong size intubation tube. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what led to the trach. And
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
trying to figure out
Wow.
why she wasn't growing, because even after she came out, at her first year of life, she was 8 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
if you can
Wow.
imagine. Yeah, and her first running shoes were 0 to 3 months from the Gap. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah, we didn't actually know what she had until she was about 3 years old, and we had surgeries to repair her throat. And there was a show on the Discovery Show channel,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go out places in public, and people would say, "Is that your daughter on the Discovery?" And I hadn't seen it.
Oh.
So
So they
yeah,
put it on
yeah.
Discovery without letting you know?
Well, she was not on it, but she looks so much like
Oh,
the
okay, okay, okay.
condition that people were like, and I didn't know what anyone. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but they
Mm-hmm.
all have the same kind of. They have the same
Yes.
look. So Google was around, or at least in its infancy, or whatever
Right.
was out there, the internet. So I went home. I looked it up, and sure enough, up popped her. And it was explained 3 years and in pregnancy. I'm reading about the
Right.
pregnancies of this kind of condition, and it all made sense. And in that moment, we discovered, who what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
We read about the prognosis of it, but I tried not to, as I always have when it comes to Tatum or anything else. It's like, you know, when you face with medical conditions, they just kind of throw everything at you at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
This could happen, this could happen. Prognosis. Even before we were sure she was going to make it because she was in the NICU, they were telling us she
Mm-hmm.
was going to have special needs, and it's like, well, what kind of special needs are we talking about?
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
although I read up about her condition, I always say she's got Tate syndrome. It is what it
Right.
is.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Her life expectancy, she's far surpassed it. Everything that they said would happen, she's far surpassed
That's it.
that.
That's it.
So
She's a miracle.
she is in every sense of the world. And then, like as you said, she ended up, and when she was 13, coming down with a rare connective tissue cancer, completely
Mm-hmm.
unrelated. So
Wow.
yeah, she's been through a
A
lot.
lot.
Yeah, and she keeps smiling through it all. She doesn't
But you've
complain.
went
She
through it through
doesn't.
because you went through it with her. You see?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to know. Obviously, it's so hard to watch her suffer, but as a mom, to not be
Yes.
able to step in and stop the suffering
Right.
is torture too. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've all gone, the whole
We've
family's been
all,
through it really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me take on the pain.
Yeah. I wish. I would, yeah, like tap out, I'll take your place.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work
Yeah.
that way, unfortunately.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, we're thankful for her life because, like I said, her life is a miracle. And even though at 13, she went and dealt with cancer, which is totally different, unrelated. But again, she's here. She's fighting. She's a fighter. So
Yeah.
she's a miracle and a gift. I would say a gift. So you went through all of this. You went through medical malpractice. All of these things are happening, and it takes a toll on a relationship. It takes a toll on family and everything, as you mentioned, you did have other children. So just continue with your journey from here.
Sure. When Tatum started getting better, I had always wanted a big family. That was just
Hmm.
always, my dream. So I thought, she was getting better, and I decided, we can't focus on her for the rest of our lives, and the
Right.
best way to move forward and make a life for all of us was to have the family that I wanted to. So
Hmm.
we had two more children. We started rejoining life. The trach was gone, nursing was gone, and all of a sudden, my husband Colin, he just stopped acting like himself. He was crabby, and
Wow.
we were just really having a hard time.
Hmm.
I knew
Hmm.
that he was a trader down at the Board of Trade, so I knew his job had become very stressful.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
at a certain point, he was back and forth to the doctor, and we were having this huge party with, like, everyone from the neighborhood. And I said, "You just need to go to the hospital, figure out what's going on."
Right.
And of course, I thought it was, they kept telling him it was, just reflux, or you don't think, because we were at the time 33. You don't think that something horrible
Right.
is going to come out of it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
he went to the hospital, and within 4 hours, we found out that he had a tumor on his pancreas that was
Wow.
inoperable. Yeah, and about 2 days later, we found out they gave him a life expectancy of about 2 weeks. Yeah,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
found it, and they said, just
Wow.
take him home, let him say goodbye to his children. And of the four, my youngest was 6 months, my oldest was 10, and
Hmm.
I had a special needs daughter. And
Now you have to
thankfully,
deal with your husband
yeah,
too.
and yeah, yeah, and thankfully he did live 16 months. So we did have some time with him, but
Wow.
there was a shift somewhere halfway in between, where it went from a blessing to almost feeling like not so
Yeah.
much of a blessing.
Yeah.
So that's where my first book came out of. I sat down, and we would go to chemo on Tuesdays, and
Hmm.
I thought it would be a great time to reconnect as a couple. And he was just so sick that I started telling Tatum's story, because there were so many ups and downs and
Hmm.
weird things that happened. And
Right.
wow, I've never seen that. So I wrote her story, and it flowed real time into his story.
Hmm.
And so I would email it back to myself on my Blackberry. And 12 years later, it sat on my laptop, and I pieced it together. And that's where the original book, Notes from Blackberry, came from.
Wow. Now that you mentioned BlackBerry, that was my favorite phone back in the day. I don't know why they took it away.
I know
You know?
that keyboard was
Oh
amazing.
my
You
God,
could feel the little
amazing,
clicks, and
amazing.
yeah,
What you could do with a BlackBerry.
right.
Even though we have iPhones and everything like that today, but I'm glad you had that opportunity. That's showing that there was a tool that you can use to journal and to do all of that. So you have a daughter with special needs, four children. Now, husband that is diagnosed, told he's gonna live for 2 weeks, but thanks be to God, he went to 16 months, right? But
Yes.
I mean, you're in a whirlwind.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like I didn't get to come up from air. Anyone who's been to a beach and knows those tidal waves that keep coming, and
Yes.
you stumble back and you come back. And yeah, I
There's a
probably
bigger
did
one
that
coming.
for, yeah, I probably did that for a good 10 years to
Wow.
begin with, before um
So how
with,
was Julie during this time?
I'm glad I wrote a lot of it down because the brain has this amazing way of shielding
Yes.
us to get
Yes.
through the next day. So Julie was okay. Julie was getting stuff done. That
She
is,
was existing and just making sure, being strong for everyone.
yeah, yeah. And I'm a fixer. I am okay, well, whatever I can't fix, I'm going to leave
Hmm.
alone and I'm going to find the things I control. And, I focused on making Tatum the best she could be. That was my
Right.
goal. I almost saw her as more of a project than a
Yeah. Yeah.
child. And then when the focus switched to Colin, it was the same thing. Well, we got to find somebody who's going to cure him. We got to get him
Yeah.
to chemo. We got to, so I
Wow.
was just in fight mode. Not flight yet, but definitely fight.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
it fueled
it's
me.
either you have to be in fight because now you're fighting. You were already fighting for Tate. You're fighting now for Colin. You're fighting for the two other children. There's a lot that needs to go on. They have to go to school. There's all these things. So you're spread thin,
Yeah,
basically. Spread
very,
thin. Are you a
very.
firstborn, Julie?
I am not. I'm the baby, but there's only two of us, so I consider. I don't know how
The
much a
oldest
birth
is a
order
male
has
or
about.
female?
I have a sister. She's 2 years older
Okay.
than me, so
All right.
yeah, I am the
Because you
youngest.
were
So
showing traits of a firstborn. And it
yeah,
also can shift. It's life causes it to happen, but it also can shift at your roles based on your experiences in life. And you were taking it head on, like leadership. You were taking it on, not as the baby, but as a firstborn trait of, what, I have to do this, I have to stand, I have to fight. You understand? So that's why I asked it because of how you handle each of those situations. So, okay, so now with Colin, how was his spirit though?
it was at first it was good. At first his mother had ovarian cancer, which was genetically linked, and at one point
Oh, okay.
she had beat it. She beat, she wasn't supposed to make it through the initial surgery where they found it, and she ended up
Hmm.
living 30 years. So she
Wow.
was everybody's miracle patient, and we kind
Hmm.
of felt like we were going to do it too.
The same thing. Yeah.
Same thing. There was a bit of him that unfortunately kind of shut the world out. He wanted to save his strength for a time when he wanted to fight. So he's,
Right.
didn't really engage with us because he felt
Hmm.
like he was saving his energy. So
Yeah.
we did
Yeah.
lose a lot of time with him.
Wow.
And he was doing great for the first, I would say, 5 months.
Hmm.
We almost got like a private room because we were in a study and he was their, shining patient. We
Right.
thought we were
Right.
going to be able to have surgery, inoperable
Hmm.
surgery. A
Right.
lot of the metastasize was gone. And then, just literally within a month, everything just went from really
Wow.
positive to, it traveled to his brain. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
would say for the last 4 months of his life, he really was not cognizant of what was going on around him, but he just was not going, as a young dad,
Right.
he was going to stay here no matter what. So he
Wow.
was a fighter.
Wow. Just the last segment, I was talking about a lot of things that transfers in the bloodline, whether it's physically or spiritually. And in this case, for him, it transferred from the mother to him as the son. And these traumas, it's like sometimes you wonder, like, where did I get this from, or who started this, or who opened up this particular door. For the mom, they might have not discovered. It might have been a parent even before her, but by that time, we didn't have all this technology to know what was happening with people, way back when. And then for him now to experience that, and I'm sure that was a lot for the family. The family was hopeful. You were hopeful because his mom went through it. And so Julie, you have gone through a lot. You are a trooper. You got your badges. You have a lot of
Thank you.
badges and strength that God has given you. And I don't know. I have no words. And usually I have a lot of words, but I have no
That's
words
okay.
because there's more. There's
There
more.
is more. There's always more,
We
isn't
just
there?
we just talking about just this in summary, but there's more. So take us through.
So it was hard. when we grew up in the same town that we moved back to, and
Mm-hmm.
where he ended up being getting cancer. So
Mm-hmm.
we were, known in the community. We were a big part of the community, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was so gracious and came together and did fundraisers and really just saved us. I mean,
Right.
I don't know where we would be without their help.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, that all of that attention and care and
Right.
concern, it started to kind of feel different to me, and it turned when he
Yeah.
passed. I kind of felt like, who was Julie? We were like Julie Colin, and without Colin, who was Julie?
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
everywhere I would go, people would be sad, and they would, if I said my name, there would be this look like, oh my gosh, there's that woman, special needs, and she's got a husband, and
Right.
and I think I just couldn't sit in the sadness anymore. I did have the four small children. I felt like it was my obligation to move forward with life. But exactly, I defined myself as Colin's wife, his best friend, and all of a sudden it was just me. And I couldn't. Everyone else was grieving him when he passed. I had been grieving him for 16 months. That he was sick, because I watched a bit of him gone every day. So
Mm-hmm.
just as everyone else is processing and grieving, I was like, I've grieved. I need to move past. I need to move on. And I kind of felt as if staying where I wasn't helping. Everywhere I looked, he was there. Everyone I knew of him. So I met somebody, and I looked at it like, oh, this is my chance. I can just leave my life behind. I can move away. I can stop being Julie Barth and
Mm-hmm.
just become somebody else. So I ended up leaving my hometown with my second husband, and leaving everyone behind, including family, friends. It was almost as if I packed a suitcase and said bye.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, because
So
you were in a place where everybody knew you, they knew about you. I mean, it was like it was Julie and Colin, and now you don't have that. So it's like you needed an escape.
I did. I did. And I thought that if I just packed everything away, put it in a suitcase or put it in a bin, all of his
Mm-hmm.
photographs, our lives together, I just thought, well, if I pack it away, I don't have to acknowledge it, and I can just
Mm-hmm.
be whoever I want to be. I can be the new Julie.
Right.
And unfortunately, and you can't do that. It seemed like a really great idea, but when you
Yeah.
pack, your grief comes with you, and
Oh,
all
yeah.
of your,
Because you have to
emotions,
unpack
and
that to go.
you do.
You
You
see,
do.
people,
Yeah.
the key here is you have to unpack that. You have to release that in order to move forward. Because when you don't, actually, that becomes the biggest luggage.
Yeah, yeah, and I liken it to a band playing around me all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
instead I wasn't able to focus on living because I was trying to silence this band, or ignore it, really. I wasn't
Right.
trying to silence it. I didn't want to acknowledge it, but it was playing all the time, and it was
Right.
exhausting.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
So I got into a really bad relationship with somebody who treated me horribly, treated my children horribly. I went on to have two other children, which they're amazing, and they made everything, worthwhile. But it was a
Mm-hmm.
decade of just horrible emotional abuse. And yeah, so it took me 10 years to get out of it and wake up
Wow.
and come to terms with the grief and the loss of Colin,
Mm-hmm.
and unpack all of the things that I've been trying so hard to ignore.
Wow. And that was a lot because when you went into that other relationship, if you was just looking for an escape, and there might have been warning signs or anything there, but that happened to be the ticket out, that was your way out. So you seized that opportunity. And now that which should have been a great journey, end up being 10 years of difficulty. And you still was dealing with your daughter. You still haven't unpacked from the grief from your husband, and now you in this relationship, and you were talking about what happened in this particular relationship. So what was this experience like now? Because you have two different men that you can say, I would say, is night and day, because
Yes.
Colin was your first love, first kiss, first everything. And now you're meeting this other person, and I'm sure you're like, well, my first husband wasn't like this. So you have something to also compare to realize what you had also.
Yeah.
So that brought a lot of pain too, I would say, right?
I think that I didn't do that comparison. Instead, I don't know that I really understood what survivors' guilt felt like.
Guilt.
And yeah, the last several months of Colin's life, I had to make a lot of decisions that I was not comfortable with.
Right.
I was the one who made the decision to stop chemo, and I was lying to him because I necessarily had to. He didn't have the wherewithal to make those
Hmm.
decisions.
Right.
So coming out of that, I felt really horrible about myself. I felt like, so when my second husband was horrible to me, and he
You
was
think
he
you're
was
paying back
cruel,
for?
I thought I deserved it. And I
I'm
didn't
telling
see it
you.
as, yeah, I didn't
Oh.
see it as something wrong with him. I saw it as, oh, there must be something broken with me, and I do deserve this because I A, B, or C. Or so I just kept trying to fix it and fix myself, because I thought if I could just make myself whole again. Clearly, I'm broken, because
Hmm.
the first marriage had been so amazing and strong and supportive that I was like, it's got to be me, because
Right.
nothing could be this horrible. This is not how marriage goes, and
Mm.
everything that I'd known wasn't what I was experiencing. So my brain couldn't wrap around the fact that I could love someone who was so horrible to me unless I deserved it.
Right.
And I don't know if I would have gotten into that situation prior to marrying Colin, or if Colin had not
Hmm.
died, or if circumstances were different. I just know
Yeah.
that
If
from the
circumstances were
perspective of,
different, the choice would be different.
maybe not.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's my path. I mean, there's a
That's what you're
reason why
thinking.
yeah, yeah. So, but again, I feel as if I didn't make the wrong decision. I made the right decision, because it's supposed to
Hmm.
happen that way. And
Right.
there's supposed to. I'm on my path and journey for a reason. And
Right.
even if things didn't happen the way I wanted them to, they happened the way they were supposed to. And
Hmm.
that's just how I process things. See, I didn't want to do that. I didn't have fun doing it, but the only way that I can turn it to purpose or meaning is if I create something good that comes out of
Hmm.
it.
Right. Wow. Wow, Julie. Like I said, as I was reading her bio, I'm telling you, we're going from one thing to the other. And so you go through 10 years of this, you have two more children. So you still hadn't unpacked. You're walking heavy.
Very.
You're walking really heavy. And so you're facing this situation. First, you're thinking you're deserving of it. So just keep dumping, dump, dump, dump. So you're getting heavier until
Yeah.
finally it's like you can't any longer. And so now it's time to release and you have to walk away. So take us through your journey here.
Well, for those 10 years, I was a runner. I talk about it in the first book. Like, that was always my solace. When I needed to escape, I could strap my shoes on and go.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I was in my second marriage. Things were so bad that I literally stopped being able to get out of bed. My muscles were so tense, and just, it was like I was broken. My bones were
Mm-hmm.
broken. So in dealing with that, I think, it was just one thing after another. I would love to say that I had had enough and I called it quits. But he started traveling for work,
Mm-hmm.
and I had really started limiting my life with him and my life with my children. He never really wanted much to do with me or my children, which, is a blessing now, but it was a big fight back then because I was raising six children on my own up on a mountain without, I'd moved away from family and friends, and anyone we did meet, he would tell them I was crazy. She's crazy.
Wow.
And on top of it, I'd left my friends and my family back home, and he was actually going back home and telling people I was
Mm.
crazy. He was recording me. He would send my text messages out to his friends in chains. He was telling people I was a drug addict. And when push came to shove, we had separated once before, and I let
Mm-hmm.
him back in. And my son came to me, he's my second son, and he said to me, Mom, I don't really understand. Why do you keep letting him back in?
Right.
He said he's threatened to kill you. He's threatened to kill me. He's taken my childhood. I've slept, with one eye open my entire life, because
Wow.
I'm afraid of him. And it was in that moment that if I realized, even if I didn't love myself or care enough about
Yeah.
me to
Care
get
for your
out,
kids.
that yeah, that it was time. And that was the very last time that I had any contact with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he did come for me and tried to sue me, and I take all of my money, take all of my everything. He didn't win. So I do have sole custody, and the truth did come out, but it was 3 year
Yes.
battle. And it was it was a hard battle because I had to look at what I had done too. It was,
Right. Right.
relationships don't happen in a bubble, and it takes
Right.
two. And yeah, and I had to look at the crazy things I did and the way
Mm-hmm.
that the choices that I made, and they weren't
Choices.
always great.
Mm-hmm.
So in exposing someone else, you have to expose
Expose
yourself.
yourself.
And
It's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I had to be okay with that, and I also had to be okay with, realizing that a lot of the people that I knew from before, I didn't have to explain myself to them because, there was
Right.
always that part of me that wanted to tell my side of the story,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I just recognized that it doesn't matter. Like, the person that they thought I was not me. It was a version that they had created of me, and
Right.
if they weren't there to hear my side of the story, then they never really were my friends to begin with, and that's
Truth.
a really hard thing to accept.
Yes, that's indeed a fact.
Yes. And that I think that's why a lot of people stay, because you think you're gonna lose it all. Like, there were
Stay that
nights
you
I would
could
lie
stay right
awake.
there. Stay right there. And it's true. There's a lot of people that are in relationships staying. Oh, I'm just staying for the kids because you're thinking that's certain security, but then you're putting their life in danger. They're dealing with trauma, insecurities. I mean, there's a lot that's going on when the child see you going through all these hurt because they hurt too. You
Yeah.
understand? So yeah.
And it
A lo-
does, it's a cycle. I mean, and when my son said that to me, I think that broke me more than any other situation I had ever been to, because I value myself as a mom, and
Mhm.
protecting Tatum, protecting Colin, fighting for them, and then to recognize and really sit with the fact that I had brought,
Yeah.
a fox into the hen house and gave him free reign and limited my children's joy. That
Yes.
was a hard pill to swallow.
Wow. Wow, that is indeed a lot. So I'm going to pull your book up here so our audience can see the book and you can tell us what your journaling here was. All right, we're go right into here. And this is the book. Talk
That's
to
the
us
first
about
of
the
three.
notes.
So that is I have a series of three books. That this one was released last April, and it was just released an audiobook. It is the journey of Tatum and Colin and the story of their resilience. Again, it goes through everything Tatum went through, crazy situations that are hard to believe, but they're all true.
Mhm.
And it ends with Colin's passing. So it really is just a testament to chronicling being a caregiver, going through all this crazy stuff with him, and with Tatum, and hopefully the lessons learned are that it's not easy. I tell a lot of my inside voice and things that we all think, but we don't want to say aloud because they're
Right, right.
ugly, and but my hope is that people will read it and see a part of themselves. And if they're able to say, wow, she's just being too tough on herself, then they can see it in themselves and give themselves some grace too.
Right.
Because, when you're faced with unimaginable situations, you do the unimaginable, and it's okay. And you should give yourself the grace to understand that if it comes from a place of, love and goodness, even if it didn't work out the way you wanted it to,
Right.
there's no regrets to be had in it. So,
Hmm.
my second book, the continuation, is called From Blackberries to Thorns, and that will be out this hopefully later on this year. And that's the second half of the story, where Tatum has cancer and getting out into and out of my second relationship. And
Wow.
then From Blackberries to from Thorns to Blossoms is my third book, and that's going to be kind of a unpacking practical advice, just kind of talking about being a special needs parent and,
Hmm. Hmm.
domestic violence and, just basically all the different situations I've found myself in, hopefully
Right.
finding community in those things so that people don't feel so alone.
Wow. So for many of you that are watching, it's important to journal. Note that's also an escape as well. When you take the time, when you can't voice it, write it down. Okay,
Yeah.
write it down. That's your place where you can share. All right, that's also another form of sharing instead of keeping it all bottled up inside. So Julie went ahead and she wrote it down, So some people have diaries. Their diary as kids. I saw so and so today, but no, this is like real life stories beyond what we do in elementary or junior high or high school, but journaling your life because that's also a way that you can compile and also write your story. Because there are a lot of people who saying, I need to write my story, but you have to face the ugly truths about yourself as well to write the story. So you have to understand what your role is in everything too that you experience. And I'm glad that Julie was open enough to say she made a decision and the choice she made took her into 10 years, of suffering. But again, at the time, it seemed like a great idea. It seemed like the best move for her at that time. So there are individuals who will say, well, why did you choose this? Or why did you do that? You're not in this person's shoes. You do not know what they had to deal with, okay? You have to give yourself grace as well. You have to forgive yourself as well. And I'm happy to see that Julie finally got to the point where she forgave herself and noticed, what those are in her life. And she's journeyed them, she started from this and has become three. Our life are in chapters, like in a book, and those chapters can actually be a complete book. So Julie took the time to do that. It's called Notes from a Blackberry. Is it on Amazon?
Yes, it's at any major retailer
Okay.
that you can buy books. And the audiobook is on Audible. You can also download the audio version. And my good friend from childhood is the voice actress for it. And she's an amazing voice actress. So
Love
I
it.
enjoyed listening to the audiobook. Yeah.
Love it. So everyone, that there you have it. So you can also get Julie's book. All right. So we'll send a link in the bio. Like you said, you can get it on everywhere books are sold. All right. You can get it on everywhere that books are sold. So Julie, you've gone through all of these life experiences in a short period of time. I don't know how old you are, but I would say you're half of your life you went through like the first quarter of your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
You was very tough, but you stood your ground, and what was meant to break you, only you got your strength from. It doesn't mean you didn't have those moments that you probably wanted to throw in the towel, wanted to give up. Who don't have those moments where you just don't want to get out of bed? I don't think I'm going to do anything today. I just need a moment. Did you allow yourself to have those moments?
I don't think I did. When you've got six little children
Hmm.
or any age children, it was always a point of, whatever drama you're going through personally, and this was for me, whatever I was dealing with emotionally, I felt my children had been through enough watching Colin. They had been through enough watching, the abuse in a lot of it was, text fighting and a lot of emotional abuse,
Hmm.
um, even though they're aware.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
But every day I looked at my kids and I thought, it's my job. I have these children and I'm going to put a brave face on and I'm going to dance. And,
Right.
that served me well for a very long time. And then it did me a disservice because I just kept dancing. And it
Right.
was almost like, don't look over there, everything's fine. And,
Right.
I created this life for my kids, hopefully, for good or bad, that, things were okay. I hope they always found a safe space at home.
Hmm.
And, I'm trying to unveil a little bit more to them about like that life
Hmm.
isn't one big vacation and fun, because I did that for many
Right.
years. And also letting other people into our world, because I tended to, we grew up very isolated. We lived on a mountain. And then it still is. We're very, I hate to say clanny, but we're very close as a family.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to, teach my children to let people in, to accept
Right.
help from others, to stop, my mother was very independent, taught me to be that way. And thank God she
Right.
did, or I wouldn't be who I am.
Exactly. That's
Um,
what your strength is.
yeah, yeah. But when it becomes overpowering, and too much. I think it was a little too much for a while, where I didn't need anyone. I was going to do it on my own. And then I think when you get into that mode, you stop listening to the people around who care for you and
Right.
are worried
It's
about
true.
you. And they're saying, hey, back up a little, take a breath. And I didn't want to, I wouldn't. So those are the
Hmm.
traits that I'm trying to, maybe teach my children, that it's okay to be vulnerable.
It's
It's
okay.
okay to accept help. Yeah.
It's okay. Well, it's true. At least you're teaching them that now for them to realize strength is good, but you also need to allow others to help you, allow others in to also voice it, speak about what's hurting. I don't know if you have done that with them. Talk about what's on your mind, what's bothering you. Be able to share that as well. Because a lot of
I
times
am. Yeah.
as a lot of times as adults, we didn't do it as children, and as adults, we just put up this wall, right? But guess what? The wall works both ways. People can't get in, and you can't get out.
Yes, indeed.
You see?
And that is really the foundation of the Colin James Barth outreach that I
Hmm.
formed. My daughter and I did. It's a charity that's based on helping women who suddenly find themselves as head of household.
Hmm.
Because even though you have a plan for life, it never goes as planned.
Right.
And I found myself in situations where I did have resources at one point and then I didn't.
Right.
And so my hope is to, it's in Colin's name because he would have wanted to be able to take care of us, and
Right.
he wasn't there.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so our charity is really trying to bring emotional abuse to light, because it's not recognized as abuse
Right.
in courts, which
Hmm.
is so wrong.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's also we're focused on the disparity of divorce and its impacts on females versus males,
Yes.
as far as economics,
Hmm.
and the court system's way of looking at things like emotional abuse and custody and
Right.
guardian ad litems. I mean, I could go on and on, but
Hmm.
I've been very hopeful in talking with people who are now coming forward that might not have been, people I
Right.
even know that have emailed me on the side or messaged me, and I had no idea that they had been in abusive relationships, and just giving them that voice
Right.
is hopefully we can change things when we all start telling our ugly side that we don't want people to
Yeah.
know,
Nobody
because
want to tell it, but it has to be told. That is
it
the
does,
only
because if you
way.
don't speak up, it will continue.
It
And
will,
yeah,
and it's a
and
cycle.
it is, and I have 4 girls, and that, that was another thing, is I never wanted my
Right.
girls to be put in a position where they didn't protect themselves, because women we're taught, or we're conditioned to give
Hmm.
up everything, to be sacrificial, to,
Right.
if we want something on our own, if we put ourselves first, then it's seen as selfish. And
Yes.
it shouldn't, you can't protect your children if you don't protect yourself.
Oh,
And
yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
don't know that until it's too late and you haven't protected yourself, and then you have nowhere to turn. So I'm
Right.
trying to change that mindset,
That is definitely a
systematically.
narrative that we need to work on, definitely, as women, because you sacrifice so much. You sacrifice yourself, jobs, career, you name it,
Yeah.
in order to for things to work. And in the end, you get the short end of the stick. You know,
Yeah. Well,
some
I know
women lose
many,
it
yeah.
all. Like
And I know
in your
many
case,
women
you
that,
said you lose
yeah,
everything.
twice, for different reasons.
Wow.
And when Colin died, I was a stay-at-home mom necessarily. I always have been. I work remotely now, but
Hmm.
you go into the workforce and you've taken years to do the most important job that there is, raise your child, and they're like,
Hmm.
"What kind of work experience do you have?" And you're like, I don't have any." And it's almost as if you've been sitting in a bubble, not learning any skills and maturing,
Right.
or while you are the CEO of your home, you're doing fundraising at school, you're marketing yourself, you're
Right. Yeah.
counselor, you're cook, you're chef, your
Yes.
project management.
Yes.
um yeah, and so our organization is trying to also find companies that are willing to partner with us to give
Hmm.
gainful employment to women who do have the skills, and maybe they haven't
Yes.
been in the workforce, but they've been working their butts off their
They've been.
entire lives, and shouldn't start with minimum wage.
Yes.
Yeah. And you shouldn't have to lose everything you have for someone to step in and say, okay, now we'll help you. Because that
Yeah.
seems to be the system.
That seems to be what needs to be done in order to get any type of help. You
Yep. You
know.
have to like take a vow of poverty in order to be able to survive. And we shouldn't survive. And that's where our charity hopes to change. You shouldn't have to hit rock bottom and give away everything you own for someone to say, oh, now it looks like you need help. It
Yes.
would be much more lucrative for everyone if we
Hmm.
stepped in and said, all right, let's keep you where you are, let's sustain you, let's get you a plan,
That's
and
it.
let's get you comfortable so that your children are
Yes.
taken care of.
That's true. That's true. So, Julie, I really appreciate you for reaching out and to come on here to be a guest. And I do believe that we will connect together because I do have a women's organization called WIWA, Women Inspiring Women Always. And that is the goal, to be in the place of what you're doing now today, to put environment for individuals who need to be that change, because we have to be the change. Someone has to start it. We need to create these avenues, opportunities for others. And as we close, what would you say to that mom today that probably was is going through what you went through with your daughter or Colin, or because you've gone through so many experiences in life? What would you say to a woman overall?
I think it's just important to not become overwhelmed by the vast amount of the challenge that you're facing. It's so easy to fall in on it and say, oh my gosh, and look at the big picture of the future and what's to come, and, and deal with the what ifs. But if you take it one day and you control and change what you can, and deal with what is, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can make a dent, and you can start. And the more you accomplish things, it works, on this big thing if you just take steps over here. So try not to get swallowed in what people are forecasting, or the worst case scenario, because the worst case scenario is always thinking about or considering the worst case scenario, because you're living it then. If you can just, you know, focus your energy on taking care of what you can and let the rest go. And we all say that, but it's true. Find what you can control, change the things that you can, and make a difference every day. And if you keep knocking away at it, one day you'll be on the other side of it and look back and
Hmm.
think, I made it, I did it, and it was hard, but wow, I love who I am now, and I'm stronger than I've ever been. And I've proven to myself that I can do anything.
Wow. So to each mom and men, because it goes both ways in situations when you're facing um, life difficulties. The first thing, of course, is to be strong, to be there. Don't break down, because once you break down, everything else does.
Yeah.
If Julie had given up the first time, then there wouldn't be the results that it is today. If she had given up the second time, the results wouldn't be what it is today. If she had given up the third time, the results wouldn't be what it is today. But also allow yourself time to grieve, allow yourself time to heal, okay? And give yourself grace. All right, give
Definitely.
yourself grace, because it's important. You're only one person. All right.
Yeah.
And you're originally you. There's no other person like you. You might look the same. Some people are twins and they're identical, but you are not the same. You are uniquely you. And you are unique in your experiences. You are unique in your pains. Yes, we all might have similar, but we are not identical in anything from our fingerprints. We are not. That's just to show you. So, Julie, I truly want to thank you for being here on the set on today. And I know that you won't be a stranger, because we will come back on and talk about your foundation and how you can get the word out for more women, and even in your area, and how to get other companies that might be looking for these type of organizations, because there is money out there, and we need the money into these organizations that are actually helping people and doing what they say they're doing, instead of
Yeah.
hiding behind a camouflage, just collecting money, and people are just getting richer doing other things, while those who are actually need the money are not getting the funds. So anyone on here, if you're watching on today, there are a lot of foundations and organizations that need your help. All right, that need your help. So it might be you, yes, you, and you can help. So we want you to reach out and email us at emergeandempower@gmail.com. All right, you can also reach out. I will have all of Julie's information in the bio. If any of you find Julie relatable, do reach out. Okay, so I will share how you can connect with her, and we want to keep growing. Okay, this is a healing space, and we want you to heal for real. Julie, I want to thank you once again for being here in Emerging in Power. But before we go, I'd like to bless with a prayer. All right. So I would like to pray for you and everyone that is on and watching. Father, in the name of Jesus, I want to thank you for this moment. Nothing in life is by accident or chance that me and Julie had this opportunity to connect. It was just a matter of 2 weeks ago, Heavenly Father, Lord, that you created this platform where I was able to meet her. And I want to thank you for that. Father God, I thank you for the strength that you have given her, because she didn't know the strength that she had until that's all she had. So I want to thank you, oh God, for that, for her why, for the foundation that she has that is helping other women, Heavenly Father, Lord, for betterment. It's all for betterment and for good health and for mental health, okay, and mental stability. So for the woman or the man that is watching on today, we ask, oh God, for continued healing into their lives as well, oh God. Let us heal, that our families can be healed, that we can be the better person, Heavenly Father, Lord, that our families need, that our neighborhood need, that our community need, that our city need, and go all the way into the state, into this world. But we need ourselves to be empowered, and that we have the right tools, Heavenly Father, Lord, for our lives, and that we can help others. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. So
Amen.
thank you so
Amen.
much, Julie, for being here on Emerge and Empower on today. And we're closing out, everyone. Like I said, we are on here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. I'm going to put Julie's book back up here so you can reach out. Notes from a Blackberry, okay? Notes from a Blackberry, and it will continue part 1, part 2. You can keep an eye out for that, everyone. Keep an eye out for it. And thank you so much, Julie. And we're going to close. Okay, everyone. Bye-bye.
Platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity. Stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m., with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.